Hi, my name is Melody Brookman, and if you don't know, I have a negative haunting going on. I have an attachment case, and it is unsolved for 18 years. And the reason why I'm having a podcast doing a podcast is I'm delving into what traditions work and what traditions have failed into finding solutions to getting rid of positive and negative hauntings. And I have a very special guest today. Her name is Ann Bender, and she is a very famous psychic medium. And she has done a very special show, paranormal reality show, Haunted Hospitals. And she's been on very many podcasts and very many paranormal shows as well. And so, Ann Bender, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a psychic medium. Primarily, I function in the medium world. Rather than acting as a psychic, I talk to spirits, and that could be spirit of animal, missing persons in an altered state. It can be spirits of different centuries, but I act to as a conduit to add communication, help with unanswered questions of family, and sometimes work with unsolved cases to help officers find through their own proper means to obtain document and obtain evidence for that case where I don't need to be mentioned. I simply will guide them with, hey, can you look here, here, or here? Or this is, what you might do to try and obtain said evidence to solve this case. And that way I remain out of it. With Bender Paranormal right now, and I've worked with a lot of different organizations along the way because I've been doing this a long time. So we believe that the whole community, if we work together, will actually solve things, and that's really what sets our team apart. Is we work with debunkers, we work with sensitives, we use science in hand with mediums, and we pull every tool in the shed together to try and answer and solve a problem or help a family. Our main goal really is to help families in need or people in need like yourself.
So, what are some of the tools you use to solve cases?
I like my dowsing rods as a visual aid for what I'm hearing in my mind. I like to do what's called, I've coined the term double blind dowsing. And that is taking and answering some fun, silly questions with the dowsing rods. That's mostly to calibrate them and make sure that who I'm talking to is who I think I'm talking to. And is it somebody who's going to answer truthfully? I interacted with one of the Hells Angels once upon a time, and he was a bleepity bleep. I can't say the words he used, but he refused to answer any question straight. So I had to set my dowsing rods down going, I can interact with him, but I cannot use my dowsing rods because he thinks they're just poo poo caca. And I'm really making this PC from the terms that he used. It was very harsh. But in the end, the family was able to identify, indeed, it was exactly who they thought was there just by his reactions and how I reacted to him. So, in and of itself helped solve some issues and some questions they had without answering a single question. So, dowsing
Oh,
rods are my tool of choice.
that's fantastic. Have you closed any other cases?
Honestly, we've become long-term friends with so many different once clients. One of my specialties is working with young children, especially when before they're verbal, and helping that family communicate and
Mm-hmm.
interact with that child to solve those questions. We have several cases that it's just the family learning how to communicate with their child. And a lot of them already are, especially moms. I'm like, I, I'll have a little thing I'll run through with the little ones. And in my head, I'll let them know what to the parents what I'm going to do in advance. So I let them, hey, I'm gonna have a conversation with your kid, but you're not going to hear a word coming out of my mouth because I'm doing it with my head. That's how I talk to spirit. And I'll ask the kid to bring me their favorite toy, their favorite color. And so a kid that normally doesn't interact with strangers, because normally they're really shy and they're scared of strangers. But they'll come, they'll bring me that favorite toy. They bring me the favorite color. One was favorite color was orange, and so he brought me an orange from the kitchen. And so once I bridge that gap and have that communication set up, then I can find out whether some of the activity might be PK. It might be originate from the child. It's often in conjunction with actual spirit activity as well. Many times it's family members trying to protect that child from unwanted spirits who are just drawn to their light. They're drawn to that frequency, if you will. And so it becomes a thing of untangling the mess of how much is PK, how much is family that's desired and wanted, how much is something else that we don't want. And in some cases, there's a couple things that may intertwine even further. That's a whole nother ball of worms.
Oh,
And that actually was a dimensional issue along with a very powerful ancestral spirit that had it took some research on our part to be able to research that particular type of religion and how it was back in that day, if you will, because it was in conflict with the other parent in that situation. So when you take two high-ranking, conflicting religions, put them in one house with a kid that can see and hear both of them, now you add a dimensional thing with weird noises and, if you will, ETs coming into play. It's a whole hot mess.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
one case. And no, that's not really solved, but it's at least quieted down so that people are able to sleep at night.
Oh, well, that's good. And are there any cases that have not been solved
Sorry,
that
you cut off on the
you
last part.
know,
And you're frozen.
can't figure out and kinda wonder, well, why it couldn't be figured out?
Can you hear me? Boy, they don't like it when I start talking about that stuff, do they? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's okay. It happened.
Not uncommon when I
Yeah,
break
yeah,
or two.
it's okay.
So there are certain cases that I don't bring up for that very reason. You'll never finish the podcast.
So, if there's a case that can't be solved, and so what do you do when it can't be solved? You
One of the ones that I can't bring up, and that's just because things will glitch far worse. Um,
um,
it's not solvable within our means. So what I would do is refer them out to the proper authorities. In this
mm,
case, my go-to for a demonic situation, which we do not take those cases, but when we accidentally stumble into them, screen them as best as we will, but those little guys will deceive. We refer it out to a Catholic church or somebody that has a proper extensive training in demonology, not something online, not something that, oh, I've done this for this many years. I respect that. I have too. But
yeah.
I also know unless you are properly trained, it is not safe. And I'm not going to hand off to somebody that I'd be putting them in danger. I'd be doing an ill thing. Don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm missing some of the religions and some of the Wicca elements
Yeah.
that handle those types of things. It
Right.
is with full respect that we choose not to handle it. I do not feel comfortable for my own safety, and that's just for me. I can't choose for anybody else.
Like in my case, it becomes violent on me, and I can't just like hand it over to another paranormal team and say, here, check it out, because they become in danger, because you never know what these negative entities are going to do to them. So yeah, you just never know. Yeah. So do you have any, so if someone doesn't know and they come into first run into the paranormal, and so you have any advice for them?
Try your best not to be scared. Even though it is absolutely terrifying when people have their first encounter, it is normal to be afraid. But when we're screening for requests and people are showing and saying things without any hesitation, that opens a little bit of concern. And that's why we also include questions about medication. And I had one family, we did not do the investigation. This is a prelim. But she was just she wanted to leave no stone unturned. Her son had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she wanted to make sure there were no spirits in the house. And so when we went through the questionnaire, nobody else in the home ever had any type of anything happen to them. Now, even in your case, Melody, other people have witnessed it. It's been verified through video. There are other sources to your situation. You're also anxious about talking to people about your situation, not because it's personal, but because you're uneasy with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's it's a tough situation, but the case that we ended up not doing, we assured them that nobody else has had any experience. It is only your son. Next question is, has he started his medication yet? Well, no, he hasn't. Okay, here's the thing. Start his medication. Give it at least 2 to 3 months. See if it helps. If it does indeed help him, then there is your absolute answer. Even if it changes it, good or bad, there is your answer. Then you'll have to work with the doctor to fine tune those medications to the right one, to the right dosage, and that could take a year or more, honestly. And he's got to keep taking his meds, which is another whole battle. So she was incredibly grateful. She actually did donate to our cause to help other families, even though we had not done an investigation. It was simply a preliminary meeting to evaluate for an investigation. We don't take on cases that we're not going to do any good. A lot of our team are medical based or other professional agency based, and do no harm is our first. And if it means doing some research before we say yes or no, then we'll do that research.
I always say, try to collect as much evidence as you can and see if, are there other witnesses or other people experiencing it? Or, are you the only
Could be
one? Or,
animals. It could be the
yeah,
dogs or the cats interacting,
yeah,
because animals are incredibly sensitive. So, just because it's a person and an animal, and that person's scared, and you can see fear. So then the next question is, okay, you know, have you been to your doctor? Have you gone through these steps just to check, to be evaluated? What did they say? That's held in the strictest of confidence. Drugs, which can, if it's been a meth house and that family doesn't realize that meth was produced in it, it's still in those walls. And that was a situation on one occasion. Finding the jar of meth on the bathroom counter definitely helped that along for our decision not to proceed. And
yeah.
I can tell you, we have a hard no, hard get out. You see us do that, everything shuts up and everybody gets out. We've encountered something that's dangerous to us that we need to leave the premises immediately. And that, unfortunately, teams out there, please do a prelim. Don't get caught in a meth house. Even though it may look beautiful on the outside and perfectly safe, do the prelim.
Yeah.
And do the prelim with more than one person. We also changed that. In some cases, we'll go up to 4 if there's any question, but minimum 2 people always. Never go in by yourself.
Yeah, you don't wanna be alone. Yeah.
A ghost.
And speaking of pets, sometimes, my dog sleeps through when I'm being attacked, my dog will sleep through the whole thing. And people will watch the video and they're like, "Well, how come your dog didn't react?" And people, will say, "Well, most animals would react." And, but you have to understand that in my case, that these entities are not after my dog. They're after me. So, but sometimes the dog does react, but not always. So just sometimes, but most of the time my dog sleeps through everything. And you'll see, and you've seen the dog sleeps through the whole thing. And people are like, "Well, why doesn't your dog move?" And I'm like, "He's asleep." Yeah,
That happens with dimensional situations.
Barry is going through more footage now that he's doing my documentary. And my dog has been sleeping through most of it. And we've gotten more footage of more activity of the bed movement. And my dog is just fast asleep. And, I actually said on an interview, and I said, it just boggles my mind that we see this movement on the bed and none of us saw it with our own eyes, and I'm like, how do we miss that? You know?
Another thought. The
Yeah.
fact that the activity is so long standing. This has
Yeah.
been going on since your dog first started. This is normal to him.
Yeah.
Therefore, it also would make sense that he would sleep through it because this is normal.
This is
That
normal.
movement
Yeah.
is normal.
It's
Mhm.
normal. Yeah.
It doesn't it's not abnormal for him in the slightest.
This is his home and it's normal for him to live in this house where it's activity like this. Yeah. So,
And this
yeah.
activity, it's been the same no matter where you've gone. That's also what
Yeah.
makes your case particularly unique. Oftentimes, I would say 90% of the time, activity is actually location related. Very rarely, unless it's a family member that's not threatening. In those cases, we often don't even hear about. But when it's threatening activity, 90% of the time for a threatening situation, it is location based, not person based. We just or maybe it
Yeah.
does and people are too afraid to reach out for help. So
Yeah.
that's the issue.
Yeah. And fortunately, I've moved, several times. And this thing is just persistent on following me and Barry will tell you, you know, he will see it on the camera. "Oh, you're near the house." And I'm like, "Well, how would you know?" He goes, "Because I see the rods and the orbs coming in." So, and then he noticed that is really odd, but he noticed that when he goes and kisses me or gives me attention, the lights start up for some reason. And he says, "Oh, I don't think they like me." And I said, "Well, I told you from the get-go,
You froze
you
again.
know,
Yeah.
I didn't tell him what I didn't tell them what they said, in the beginning, because I didn't want to tell him, because they said they must have screamed for 24 hours. Can you imagine hearing of the an entity screaming in your head 24 hours. I mean, how horrible that is. And then I couldn't tell Barry that. And then coming to his house, and he's, having dinner with him, and these things are doing the most heinous things to me while I'm sitting there having dinner, and I can't tell him, I'm supposed to have this normal date at his house having dinner, and I didn't tell him what they were doing to me while I'm sitting there eating dinner.
Yeah.
Horrible thing. Yeah, but that's what happened. That's what they were doing. And I didn't tell him, you know. I mean, these things do. But I don't think that most people go through what I've been going through in this haunting, what I've been going through.
I'm so sorry that you're dealing
Yeah,
with it like this.
Stefan Bugatti admitted he couldn't do anything about it. He said it is what it is. He tried. I mean, he's been over here, what? I don't know, 15 times? I don't know. Lost count. But yeah, I mean, you can only do so much. But yeah, so yeah, I did find those devices that put up an electrical barrier. They don't like it. And it's the only thing that keeps them at bay. And I don't use them all the time, just every once in a while so they don't get used to it. And then it drains their energy. So they really don't like it. So I'm getting a little closer, a little closer.
Hey. Every little bit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not there's no book written on any one there's no one fix for every type
No.
of paranormal event. It's a guessing game.
Yeah.
We do use the best of our abilities based in whatever religion that person is, whatever background they have, and the type of haunting, and the type of paranormal activity, because it may not be a haunting.
Yeah.
I don't believe yours would be classified ever as a haunting. And I'll stand by it. Paranormal, yes, but not a haunting. It is its own unique situation. And I bet there are other people like you that have dealt with this, but they're not going to say anything because it's so personal and they feel ashamed, which is
Yeah.
really, really sad. They have to endure that type of situation alone.
Yeah. I just, want others to know that these things are real and they do latch on to people and people need to be aware of it. So they're out there and can stumble, y- people can be doing whatever they want and they stumble on and these things just latch onto them and people need to be aware of it. Yeah. But and Ann Bender has been a great friend and a great psychic medium to me. She's been a great supporter through all the years that I've known her. I remember the first day I met her, she gave me she was at the Paracon and she gave me this stone. And she goes, "Oh, I bet this would work for you." And it was like gold to me. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I just was like, when I got that stone, it was like gold. And it still works today. I don't use it all the time. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's one of the things that still works.
Good.
Yeah. It's it's a it's a little piece of gold. Yeah, I treasure it in my heart. Yeah, it's great. I actually found more of it that I could put in a little prayer book that I put every once in a while in my pocket to work. So they don't really like it, but I use it off and on, so they don't get used to it. So every paranormal case is different on what goes on and what works and what doesn't. So with mine, these things get used to things and it wears off. It doesn't work, so I don't use it all the time. I have to switch things around all the time, unfortunately. So, but Anne has been my dear friend, and she's a great psychic medium, and I highly recommend her.
Yeah, I wish I lived close to that area too.
Yeah. I used to live up north, so yeah, that would be great. I haven't gone up north for a long time, so yeah, that's a great area. I haven't been up north for a long time, so
It's a good area. It's got a lot of good people in this particular area, and it's still close enough to a lot of wilderness because my sanity is getting out in wilderness
yeah.
and nature, Mother Nature. That's my grounding point. That's my sanity point, and I can just let go of. I'm very EMF sensitive, very sensitive to power lines and things like that. So the further I can get in the middle of nowhere with no communications, the happier I am.
Have your abilities ever, like, messed with, like, electrical stuff before?
Ever what with electrical stuff?
Like, messed with electrical, like, lights or radio or anything? I'm just
I
curious.
have a feeling I've had to do with a few big power surges. I was really pissed in a particular store, and the huge transformer outside the store blew up. I've had the
Oh,
same thing happen years ago with a brand new X-ray tube, and that's happened a couple of times throughout my career where nobody should have as many tubes blow up as I have. I mean, it's normally a once in a lifetime, if ever, for an X-ray tech, and I've had like 4 or 5. So, when and they by the way, they sound like a gunshot going off.
oh
Patients
my
like in a
god.
CT scan. It's
That's
it it first time it happened, I had to go change my undies, I swear. And it's happened enough where "Oh, okay, gunshots going off. Yep, another tube's gone." Take care of my patient if they're in there at the time, because sometimes it'll happen. I'll actually see arcing happen, like straight up arcing with a machine and
wow.
shut it down. Really unusual to have that many instances, and then what I immediately do will ground myself, calm myself down.
I
They
was
won't see that I'm upset, but yeah.
I was asking because one time my boss made me really angry, and I mean, really angry, and
Mhm.
I was in my car, and I was driving home.
How'd your car take it?
Yes, and then my my car, the electronics in the car was started to go haywire, and I was like, "Never done that before." And I was looking at it, and it was, like, going, the where it says, like, how many miles you're going, and was, like, fading in and out, and then the radio was going on and off and all this stuff.
Yeah,
What? And then I finally calmed down, and then, like, after a few minutes, it finally went back to normal, and I was like, "Did I do all that?" I realized I
probably.
think I did. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was like,
probably.
"Okay, I think I did that." Yeah. So, yeah, I think I did that. I
I'm
know
careful
that.
not to get upset to that level
Yeah, no,
because it
I
doesn't
know.
end well for other objects.
No. I know that, that I do see visions, and, and I do see, the unalive and animals and, whatnot and stuff. I saw this woman, and she had a hairstyle of like the 40s and the 50s. And she was like, I mean, like this close to my face. And her skin, I could see her skin texture. I mean, it was like velvety soft, and I was just like, I could almost reach out and touch her, you know? I wasn't going to, but it was very, very, I mean, super close. I heard her saying, "Come back." And I was like, "Okay." I didn't know what it meant at the time. And it was interesting because Barry gets these gigs and stuff. And one of the gigs he got was Jeff Stroud hired him again to do this event. And they were hired to film him at the ice house. And he said something about a band or something. And I'm like, what? I go, he had a band? And I was like, I don't know anything about it. So so Barry's like, "Oh, you can do all the interviews when they walk in." And I was like, "I've never heard of this band." And Steven's like, "No, it's just some band from the high school, you know." And I'm like, "Never heard of this band." And so when I got when we got to the ice house to do this event, it was called they did it on Back to the Future. Can you believe that? And he had done this whole thing on Back to the Future, and then his mom had passed away in 2024, and he had photos of his mom up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." It was in the photos of his mom, same hairstyle from the 40s and 50s, and I was like, "That's his mom." And I was like, "She said come back, Back to the Future." And I got the chills, and I'm like, "That was her." And I was like, "I was meant to be there." And he had this whole Back to the Future thing. See, look, my name is on the guest pass. See, Stroud's
Mhm.
Linen. See, the whole thing. And they had this whole thing about a goat and a washer machine, and I'm like, "What is a goat and the washer machine?" I didn't know what it was, and I was like, "This is so weird," you know? But yeah, and so I did all the interviews when all the people when their friends came in or whatever, and then they they did a whole screening thing later on, and Barry and Steven went to the screening later on. I didn't they didn't want me going. The only Barry and Steven went because they were the ones that filmed it, and the best part, they said, was me doing the interviews.
Aw,
And I was just like, "Seriously?" But, yeah, I was like, "No way, that was his mom." And I had the chills.
aw,
"You're kidding me."
very much so.
I still have the dowsing rods that I bought from you, and I've used them a few times. They're sitting upstairs. I should use them more often. I know that I have a gift with using the a pendulum, with a necklace. I know that works. It kind of scares me, but I know it works. I know one of these days I will come closer to finding an answer. Hopefully. I hope that you will find closure to more cases and to finding more missing persons and missing animals. I think it's great that you work close with the police department and, helping missing people. I mean, that's really awesome. Maybe one day, I can help people too, you know. Yeah, that's always great. Yeah. And are you doing more haunted hospitals or is that still going on or
I don't know that they're filming anymore for that, to be
oh,
honest. I
you don't
think
know?
yeah, I
Okay.
think they stopped after season 5, if memory serves.
Okay. Pick it
Same
up
company's
again.
several other haunting type shows. That company's done, oh, I don't know what they're working on at this moment, but
Huh.
I've been impressed with the stuff they have put out. It's been my experience with them was they were very compassionate. They
Huh.
were true to the story. They didn't embellish anything beyond what it was. They kept it as factual and um, my story didn't need any embellishing on it because it was what it was. And it actually made me who I am today. To be in a psych unit as a kid, watching people who really are crazy and realize they're not talking to spirits. That's what crazy is. Oh, they think they're talking to spirits, but they're not because the spirits are over here. They're over there. But they're not talking to the spirits over there. They're talking to the wall like it's a spirit. Okay, that's crazy. So that helped me understand what crazy was because I was questioning my own sanity, to be honest. And it literally scared me straight. Um, to walk through that tunnel and to see the look in the guy's eyes that didn't realize he was dead, and he was from a long time ago. And I'm seeing the room how it was back then, which was verified by some of the staff. I mean, there's a lot more that, you only can tell so much of it in that little bit. It literally scared me straight. And I realized, okay, I'm not crazy. I've got no reason to, be concerned. This is just something nobody can understand because not everybody sees them with this clarity that I do. And that's what makes my situation different is my dead people that I'm talking to, you can verify. And that's why I really focus on certain items. It's why I like to work with cold cases and having the officers find that evidence that they're missing and not mentioning me. They don't need to mention me. I just let them know, hey, go here, look here, try this, try this. And yeah, it's it's awesome. I don't need anything out of this. I don't get anything out of this other than feeling like I've helped somebody that didn't have a voice anymore. And there's some cases I couldn't help, but I would work remotely. I did remote viewing for him. And that's also because I don't take cases in the area I live. I won't work with cases anywhere near where I reside. And that's because I used to live next to a serial killer. Robert Lee Yates Jr. was my neighbor. Yeah. That was pretty awful.
Oh my god.
Dreaming I actually drove to, and this is before I knew how to reach out to officers. I'm like, I know the body's out there. I can't go out there. I can't call the police to tell them she's out there because they're going to wonder what I have to do with the crime.
Yeah.
They're going to go, well, why if you know the body's out there, what'd you do? And rightfully so. I didn't understand how to make that connection. And I wouldn't expect law enforcement to wonder what my part was. Um, that's my neighbor, and I dreamed his crimes. There's details that they've released some of them, so I've been able to verify some of those details. Not all of them. I can tell you what shirt he wore for which body. That's yeah. That's the book that I'm struggling to go any further with because I found out I have a great respect for writers because it's personal and it's hard. It is so hard. Because when you put that down there and you publish it, it's out there forever. You can't take it back. And that's part of me. My hat goes off to you.
Yeah, Barry, wrote the book on the known encounter, the San Pedro haunting. And, it's hard for him sometimes because people will go on there and go, "Oh, no, none of that happened." And I'm like, well, he has all these witnesses verifying that that happened, you know?
To John this about a
Mhm.
situation that was so hokey and unbelievable that it's something you wouldn't believe happened. And he goes, and even though so many things that I've done are based in TV, the reality when we were there was scarier. And they couldn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
put it in a film because people wouldn't believe it. It was
Yeah,
that scary. And when you really encounter something that is demonic and you get that close and you get picked up and thrown against a wall to have the marks afterwards,
yeah,
to see somebody come up off the floor and thrown for everybody that was there that day, they'll never forget it. Think it
yeah.
had TV show, it would have seemed hokey, like, "Oh, boo. That doesn't happen." Well, it happens.
I can contest to, you know, some of the stuff happening, like some of the stuff that happens to me. People go, "Oh, no, well, that doesn't happen," and no, that you can't that could not happen to somebody all the time like that, and I can tell you it does and it can happen.
Breaks my heart for professionals in the paranormal field to say that can't happen. Out
Yeah,
of all we have to have an open mind and go, "Okay, do not jump to a judgment or conclusion. Take your time, go slow, look at every corner, because the minute you say that can't happen, guess what? That bleep's gonna happen. That's gonna go
yeah,
down. And you're gonna stand there going, I'm an ass because I said that could never happen. And I
exactly.
can't many times. I've actually said that. Back in my earlier days, I said, "Oh, that'll never happen. That can't happen." Well, I've eaten those words, and I will not jump to those conclusions and say that cannot happen because you know what? We don't know the half about what's possible in this world and beyond. We don't know. We're only just trying our best.
There's footage we have seen, and I was like, "Did you see that?" And Barry's like, "I saw that." I was like, "How is that possible?" You know? And I'm just, like, blown away. We caught this isn't scary or anything, but it was just kind of really odd. We caught this footage, and I did put it out on Facebook and stuff, and I was lying in bed, and there was a tissue box on the nightstand, and there's a tissue sticking up, right? And we were, just watching the footage. The tissue gets sucked back in the box, and we were like, "What? Wh Why would it pull back in?" And we were like, "Wait, wait, wait, play it again." We're watching it, and the tissue literally goes sucked back in. We're like, "I don't understand." I mean, if you're gonna take a tissue, why would you pull it in, not pull it out? But it pulled it in, and you could see the time on the clock, the time on the counter going forward, not backwards. And we were like, "Why would it do that? Why would it suck it back in the box?" But that's what it
'Cause you're not
did. And
thinking dimensionally.
yeah,
That
no, but
in that
that's the
situation, that's dimensional manipulation of time with what you have
yeah,
going on that fits because you're dealing with dimensional situations.
yeah.
And it
It
makes
was
sense
just
that that would absolutely happen because what we know as the present isn't for every dimension at every time. It might be 5 minutes from now, it might be 5 hours from now, or 5 years from now. or
Yeah.
50. So
So
they did that. They did that to show what they're able to do in real time.
yeah. So it was just a sneaky thing they did.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. They were doing. They
And we didn't even know it was on there because we have like 2 years of footage we haven't even really gone over. And
oh,
then
surface.
yeah, and it was just like, "What?" So, I found this music called Sneaky Weeky or something like that, that kinda fit it. So it was like, "Whoop," and I'm like "Okay, kinda fits it." But yeah, and then now I don't know if it was the same ones, but they did Ding Dong Ditch 11 times,
Oh, that's an old
and
trick. That's yeah.
yeah,
When they do ding dong ditch with no batteries in the ding dong and it's sitting out. Yeah, that
yeah,
that actually happened.
yeah, and then one of the times that they did Ding Dong Ditch is I went to my house, and I have a gate, a dog, a baby gate up on the porch because my dog's small, w you know, and so I went through the screen door, then the front door, walked 3 feet in, but all the doors were closed, doorbell went off, and I'm like, I know nobody's behind me because I just walked in the house." And my daughter goes, "The the light's flickering in the bedroom." And the doorbell just went off. And I'm like, "There's nobody behind me." I go, "They just did Ding Dong Ditch." And I go, "That's number 9." She goes, "What?" I go, "That's 9 times." I go, "That proves they were following me because they had done it 8 times at Barry's house, 9 there, and then they did it 2 more times back at Barry's house." And I was like I said, "Don't answer the door." Yeah, and then oh, what was wild, I'm gonna say it anyways on here, but we're not gonna but and we're not putting it on documentary. We caught an orb. I was changing my clothes in the bedroom. I pulled up my underwear. An orb came right out of my underwear. And then there was a time we had this Barry has this werewolf for Halloween, right? And I hung it outside the front door and it has a sensor on it, right? And it goes, "Oh," in this whole thing, right? And I hung it outside and the sensor was on and we had both gone to bed. And now I hear them talking telepathically, right? And
Yeah.
so I hear this we hear this, "Ow." And then I'm hearing now Barry hears it goes off, right? We hear go off, right? And I'm hearing this, hear this, why'd you do that?" "Oh, I like it." "We'll stop doing that." And then we hear and then like 30 seconds later, "Ow, ow." And he goes, "You keep doing that." He goes, "I like it." Stop doing that. And so I'm picturing it passing the sensor, deliberately setting it off, and the other one going, "Stop doing that." And he goes, "No, but I like it." "Ow." And they were doing it for an hour. And Barry's like, "What is that?" And I go, "It's that werewolf that you bought." He goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, Why does it keep going off? And I'm like, you don't want to know. I just said, you don't want to know. So eventually I came downstairs, went outside, I shut off the battery, shut off the sensor, right? Went back upstairs, went to bed. And then all of a sudden I hear this, hey, it go off. And then he goes, I don't know. He goes, it's not going off anymore. He goes, how come it's not going off? And I was trying not to smile. So for some reason, they didn't know that I had turned it off. And I was like, that's the weirdest thing. That was weird. And then there was another time I was thinking, is that what they do? To like mess with people? There was another time that Barry has a spiral staircase. It's right there. It's on the lights. Yeah.
Cool.
And
Nice touch.
yeah, so in the middle of the night, it was like 3:30 in the morning. The rod irons are loose. So when you walk down it, it goes squeak, 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 because they're loose. And so I was hearing this stomp, 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 squeak, stomp, stomp, squeak, squeak, squeak. And he goes, I'm going up and down the stairs. Stop doing that. That's stupid. And then he kept going up and down the stairs. Stomp, 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 stomp. And I'm going, I was just laying there, not saying anything. And they were going back and forth about about the whole thing. And I was just like, that's okay, whatever. But they finally stopped. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And Barry's out cold sleeping. He's laying there going, and
Poor
I'm thinking,
Barry. He's not even
how
here to
does he
defend himself.
sleep? He sleeps through everything. That man sleeps through everything, and I'm woken up through all of this. All of this. But yeah, so through the jokes and the humor that these things do, most of it's the violence and the trauma that they do. So some hauntings are positive. I wish mine was positive, but unfortunately, these things are not. And Ann Bender is, as you know, and you've solved many cases, which is so great to hear. Oh, the lights just dimmed, and I hope that you can solve many more in your future. And it's been such a delight to have you on my podcast. And I hope that I can promote you and get you out there to help many more. So,
Well,
do you have anything to add, Anne?
you can find us on benderparanormal.com.
Okay.
Spirits always tend to find me when the families need help. People will come around and they locate because we're not about the shows, and doing shows on occasion is fun. And it's not what our primary calling is. We're here to help people and to be able to help both the living and the
You
dead
froze
is what
there.
drives me. That's my wonderful daughter has a wonderful site as well.
Oh,
And so yeah, betterparanormal.com. I'm also on Facebook as Classy Ann. And I do a lot of different things. Besides making dowsing rods, I make jewelry and I specialize with custom gemstones and jewelry. And my day job is in the hospital. So that's where I earn my living. We do everything for donation and batteries and gas to help to get to other people and help other people. So that's what donations go to. Plus the website, there's certain expenses that are inherent to our field. But I'll do my darndest just to stay around so that I can be a mentor to my daughter and to those other folks that I've met along the way that have said, hey, can you help me with this? Or help me learn more about myself. Those are things I don't charge for. I never will. And I'm here to help. That's what I'm about. I love to help people.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and it's been wonderful, and it's great to have you on, and hopefully I'll have you back on again. So, thank you. So
Thank you.
I'm
It's
gonna
always fun talking to you.
yes. Okay, Anne. Thank you.
Bye bye.